Good day, everyone. Meteorologist Mark Molnar here. Thanks for joining me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather Tropical Edition and Coastal Low Edition. Yeah, we're going to be watching a coastal low here in the short term, Friday into early Saturday, which could actually be dumping some extremely heavy rains on parts of the Northeast here. This area could actually see 1, 2 to potentially as much as 3 to 4 inches with locally higher amounts possible. We'll be going on all the details as this low gets blocked by this high to the northeast. We're also going to be going over the tropics here. Tropical Storm Philippe. Big changes with this storm as the steering currents become much weaker. This storm's going to dance around newly formed Tropical Storm Rina here, which actually, as these two kind of interact with each other, will dance around in this very weak flow and this high pressure blocking to the north. And we'll take a look at the rest of the tropics and your weather here. Let's get into it. So taking a look at Philippe and Rina out here, look at the close proximity of these two storms. You can essentially see what's going on here. Yeah, these two storms, they are going to influence each other. Philippe going south and then north, and Rina coming up and over Philippe. And you can see our East Coast system as well, really blossoming. Lots of tropical moisture moving up the coast here. All right, so taking a look at the tropics, and we'll go into our coastals low here. Take a look at this. You got Philippe out here. This system's actually going to be potentially affecting the Leeward Islands. Let's just put this into motion here. You can see the system kind of bending really far to the south here. European model going a little bit south and west of guidance. This is towards Saturday at 5 p.m. You can see we're actually probably likely going to see some showers breaking out here across the Leeward Islands, especially the Virgin Islands, northern Lesser Antilles, maybe here over to Puerto Rico as well. We'll go over those rainfall amounts here in a few minutes, but take a look at this. Yeah, this low kind of just camps out here all the way into October 2nd, so Monday. Yeah, this is a couple days, so you're going to get some big rains here in the northern Lesser Antilles here, the Leeward Islands, until the system starts to pull away on the 3rd, but it's not going to move very fast, you can see. And over here to the west, you essentially have a big plume of tropical moisture. This is going to affect Jamaica, Hispaniola, and eventually Puerto Rico here as well as we head into October 5th. Now look what Rina's doing. It's kind of heading up here. Let me just back this up just a bit because you see Rina dancing over here to the north of Philippe. Yeah, and this system eventually finding a weakness as it does strengthen around this high pressure system heading up towards this low. What happens to Philippe here, though, is kind of curious. This is October 5th, by the way. Now, look it out here. Things are still getting active. You can see, let me get my pencil here. You can see 1, 2, 3 tropical waves out here. So the intertropical convergence zone is slipping a little bit farther to the south here. But essentially what you got going on here is still a lot of activity. And as you can see, this might be a potential tropical system by the 6th of October. We'll have to keep an eye on that. That's with all that tropical moisture here across the Caribbean. And there is Philippe kind of just meandering out here for days. It could turn into weeks out here because look at Philippe does try to go north along with whatever this system is. And this high pressure is essentially east of Newfoundland here is blocking any progress. So Philippe doesn't really have any place to go along with this tropical system. Meanwhile, it's dragging all this tropical moisture here across the northern Caribbean islands. So that is what we have going on here in the tropics. You see, eventually this high pressure does start to retreat, but look at this westernmost low pressure system. It does start to clip New Brunswick, eastern Maine here, and eventually Nova Scotia. So definitely something to keep an eye on. So here for our East Coast low, I almost feel like I'm getting into winter time here, and we'll take a look at the GFS for the tropics and our potential. It's kind of like a nor'easter, if you want to call it that. So yeah, this is 5 a.m. on Friday morning. You see where the big moisture plume is. You see where the low pressure is forming right down here. It's got a lot of tropical moisture to work with. So as we put this out in time, look at this. This is 8 a.m. A big, huge moisture plume feed right off the East Coast, heading right into Long Island. That's probably going to be the bullseye. And then heading right into the lower Hudson Valley, the eastern Catskills and Poconos, northern New Jersey, maybe parts of Connecticut as well, getting in on the act. But those amounts are going to really taper off significantly to the north and to the west. So yeah, this is towards, let's just back this up to 5 p.m. You see where the heaviest rain's falling at this point. You can see the low pressure just to the southeast here of Atlantic City, sitting off the coast. And as you can see, 2 a.m. on Saturday morning, we're still dealing with heavy rain into parts of the Hudson Valley, Connecticut, western Massachusetts, Cape Cod here. And look at that, 8 a.m. on the 30th. Yeah, this is Saturday morning as you're waking up. Low pressure winding up here off the U.S. East Coast. That's going to continue pinwheeling. Eventually, we shut off the rain completely through most of southern New England here, but you're still going to have clouds and windy conditions, so it's not going to be the greatest of days. And then high pressure building in behind that. So for the GFS, let's look at the tropics, then we'll look at our coastal low. So here it is, Philippe and Rina. This is interesting. Look what the GFS is doing with Philippe. This is by 5 p.m. on October 1st. So the GFS barely moves Philippe. Look at this. So let's just go into motion here. GFS does not bring this close to the Leeward Islands. In fact, you can see Friday all the way through October 1st. It only moves a couple hundred miles. That is remarkable. That goes to show you how weak the steering currents are and how uncertain this cone of uncertainty. And then look what starts to happen. Here's Rina back here. So let's just push this back. There we go. So Rina dances around to the north. GFS makes Philippe the primary low pressure system, absorbs Rina, and intensifies this into a massive hurricane. So this is a bit different than the European models run. But just stick with me here. You can see it's finding a weakness between these high-pressure systems and this trough up here into the northern Atlantic. And look what it does. This becomes a massive storm in the North Atlantic. And then look at it. Kind of bounces all over the place. Let's just put that into... There we go. Look at that. October 8th, October 10th, it comes to the south as it's blocked by another area of high pressure. This system's going to be bouncing out here for days. My worry is towards the 12th, it brings it very dangerously close to the Azores over here. So if you're in the Azores, stay tuned. And look at this big area in the northwestern Gulf. That's associated with severe weather. It is interesting, though, that that's initiated on the GFS by this eastern Pacific area of low pressure that could become a hurricane and come ashore. That is pretty far out, though. If that were to happen, that could actually develop something here into the western Gulf. Now, let's get up here into the northeast with your coastal system. Let's just back the timeline up here to Friday at 5 a.m. So, blocking high to the north, you see this big plume of moisture just off the coast here. Look at that, feeding right in, 8 p.m. So, look at here it is. The GFS is right along the Hudson Valley, northern New Jersey, lower Catskills, all the way to southern New England with the heaviest precipitation as we head all the way through the evening. So it does pinwheel this out pretty fast. Saturday. Here's Saturday at 2 a.m., Saturday at 2 p.m. See how it's moving off the coast pretty quickly. So it does finally start to move away, which is some good news. The problem is the rainfall totals. Now, later on in the forecast segment, in a few minutes, I'm going to show you the HRRR and NAM 3 kilometer along with their rainfall amounts, future radar. So this is going to be the generalized models. Here we go with the European model this weekend. Let's just stop that right there. This is a lot of rain. You can essentially see what's going on here. Lots of heavy rain, northeast Pennsylvania, eastern New Jersey, and then all the way into southern New England here. Now, the European model is the one I'm really most agreeing with at this point. I'm going to show you all the other models, but you can see a solid 2.5, 3.5 inches, locally higher 4 to 5 potentially here. This goes all the way back towards Interstate 81, Interstate 88, New York State, cuts right across Massachusetts. So north and west of this main band of heaviest rain, it's going to taper off very quickly here, but you can see Long Island, northeast Pennsylvania, northern eastern New Jersey, lower Hudson Valley, Catskills, Poconos, all the way over to Rhode Island and Cape Cod here. Now, here's the GFS model. We'll compare that. It is a bit more consolidated. The general idea is here, though. Bullseye right over northern New Jersey, northeast Pennsylvania, extreme northeast Pennsylvania, and the lower Hudson Valley Catskill area, just northwest of New York City here. It is kind of curious. We're cutting off down to 1 inch here into parts of Long Island. And look at this. I think the GFS is severely underdoing the rainfall amounts in southern New England here. But this is kind of interesting. You know, we're still ending up with, a 1/10 to a 1/4 inch back towards the I-81 corridor. But the thing I wanted to note here, right in the bullseye, look at that, 4 to 5 inches There it is. So total liquid equivalent precipitation here across the Western Caribbean. As you see through this weekend into early next week, it doesn't look like much across Jamaica and the Cayman Islands, but we get towards Wednesday, the 4th, 5th, and 6th of next week, we'll pile on about 70 to as much as 90 millimeters of rainfall, especially in Jamaica area. That'll pile on about 3.5 inches of rain. As we get to the eastern Caribbean islands here, take a look at this. Trinidad and Tobago remain pretty dry, but look at here towards the Leeward Islands, Lesser Antilles as we head into Monday, Tuesday. Look at the amount of rainfall we're opening up next week with potential Philippe heading pretty close here, upwards of 90 to 110 millimeters. That is on the ballpark of about 3 to as much as 4.5 inches of rain. HRRR future radar. Let's take a look, see what's going on there. There's actually some shower activity here as we head through parts of the Ohio Valley. Look at this into tonight. There's some scattered showers. The big story, though, is this weekend's here in the Ohio Valley. You'll still eke out a few showers overnight into parts of Ohio, southeastern Michigan, western New York, western Pennsylvania, maybe even parts of West Virginia here. Look what starts to come ashore. This is our big area of low pressure along the U.S. East Coast. This is what's going to bring us some big gully washers. If you're watching in parts of southern upstate New York here, New Jersey, eastern Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Long Island especially, and then eventually Rhode Island into Massachusetts here, we're going to be looking at some heavy rainfall totals. This is 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5. So look at as you're waking up here. Look what's going on here. This is kind of crazy. And the rainfall rates will be racking up here. Like I says, I don't think, all areas will see, that top end 4 to 5 inch amount, but there will be areas that reach that 4 to 5 inch amount with locally higher. So looking at a solid 2 to 4 with locally higher to 5. Look at this. This is 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m. There's going to be some flooding problems. And if this sits nearly stationary, just east of New York City, between New York City and Islip, there's going to be some flooding problems all the way up into Poughkeepsie, Waterbury, just west of Hartford, and then up into the Capital District in New York. It does cut off very abruptly to the northwest, though. There's only a chance back through Binghamton, Cooperstown, Wilkes-Barre, Scranton here, Allentown. The big show is going to be just east of you. The Hudson Valley is going to be getting inundated here. And look at this, 12 p.m. noon on Friday. Look at Long Island and Connecticut. The HRRR model is not bringing the heaviest precipitation back into parts of eastern Pennsylvania, downstate New York, but we will be looking at the NAM 3 kilometer here. You see, this does start to pivot towards 11 p.m. towards New York City and Newark, and look at that. The aim of the heaviest precipitation is now aiming at eastern Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Cape Cod. Look at that. So, yeah, then we do start to get wraparound, and some heavy rain does start to pummel parts of the Hudson Valley, the lower Catskills here, and then eventually into New Jersey as this thing wraps up off the coastline here towards 2 p.m. on Saturday. So, taking a look at the NAM 3 kilometer, it's good to take a look at both our mesoscale models. Look what starts to, the NAM is further west here. We're going to compare rainfall totals here as well, because this is going to be interesting. So, here it is. This is 4 a.m. on Friday the 29th. Look what starts to congeal. So, you do have some rain breaking out here into parts of Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, the lower Hudson Valley. It is interesting how these two models are so different from each other. There's the plume of moisture off the coastline here, all the way down to the Bahamas. That is crazy. Still some showers here, parts of the Ohio Valley. The big focus is going to be here onto the northeast. So as we skip through, there it is, 11 a.m. Friday morning. This is kind of curious, having some heavy rain all the way up to Binghamton and Scranton. So what the NAM is doing is has a further stronger low pressure system further west. And look what starts to happen here towards 3 p.m. This big area of heaviest rain is staying off the coast, but we still have concentrated areas. That's why it's anybody's game as to who gets the big winner or say loser here for rainfall totals into that 4 to 5 plus inch range. Look at that. If that were to head on shore down here, that would be detrimental and rainfall rates would be tremendous. But here it is, 2 a.m. on Saturday morning. You can see another wave of big tropical moisture kicking to the northwest here. So Long Island, whichever way you move it here, it is going to be inundation here. So caution, you're definitely going to get some flooding. This is there's 11 a.m. noon on Saturday, but watch what starts to happen 5 p.m. Saturday. You're still getting some showers here in Nantucket all the way to Rhode Island, parts of Long Island, maybe a few scattered showers in New York City, but there it does start to wind down a bit. So the HRRR model, here is our mesoscale models. This is disturbing. If this actually does hold true, I do think this is overdone. The mesoscale models can sometimes overdo this, but it does it to a point. So some place is going to get 5 to 7 inches of rain. It's showing a widespread 7 inches, though, from New York City, western Long Island, all the way into southwestern part of Connecticut here. A solid 4 to 6 inches in many areas. And kind of focusing the heaviest east of the Catskills, just from the lower Hudson Valley eastward here, extreme eastern and northeastern New Jersey here, all the way to Connecticut, parts of western Massachusetts. So really cutting totals off here and consolidating everything a little bit further to the east. Long Island just looks terrible on this model, solid 5 to 8 inches potentially. So this is a trend we're going to have to keep an eye on here. I am open-minded. I will keep this potential on the table, but it's not likely that we're going to see 7, 8-inch totals widespread like this. So for the NAM 3 kilometer here, look at, this is a lot different than the HRRR. I'm not so sure I'm agreeing with the bullseye being in northeast Pennsylvania, Susquehanna County, northern Wayne County, Wyoming County. That's getting 6 to 8 inches plus there. What we can take away with this is the fact that we're going to see solid 2.5 to 4.5 inch rainfall amounts, northern New Jersey, northeastern Pennsylvania, lower Hudson Valley, Catskills, parts of the Poconos, parts of Long Island here, western Connecticut. So I'm not so sure. I mean, this can happen, especially during winter storms where you have the deformation band set up on the backside of the system. And of course, this system is kind of mimicking maybe an early season nor'easter, but I don't know. That's a bit far west to have the bullseye. But nevertheless, it is a trend that I will keep an eye on here. And here's a quick word from my affiliate. Stay with me here. I've got plenty more weather right after this. I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MeteoMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than TrilogyMaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code. So the weather for North America, especially our Canadian friends up here as well as the U.S. Let's take a look as we go into motion here. Yes, all eyes are going to be on that East Coast system that I showed you a couple minutes ago, but we're going to take a look at this system here across central Canada. High pressure, though, in control pretty much from Ontario, Quebec, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and Newfoundland here. Definitely really breaking out the high pressure, sunny skies, nice blue skies. There's our system winding up off the New England coastline by the middle part of the weekend. You see evidence of a little Colorado low starting here, but look what's building in across Western Canada. High pressure is building in nicely. You just have this big upper level low north of Hudson Bay here, and that's going to pinwheel little systems into northern Ontario and Quebec. And as we go through next week, Monday into Tuesday, high pressure is really dominating. It is starting to drop to the south here as it does this time of year. You can see high pressure building across the central part of Canada as well. But we have this area of low pressure that's stuck up over parts of Quebec, northern Quebec. So you're going to get some beneficial rain where those wildfires were occurring earlier this year. That is some great news. But let's take a look as we continue in time here. You start to see evidence of a little bit of a pattern shift here. Big area of low pressure coming out of Colorado. This is going to be heavy rain to the north, severe weather here to the south. So parts of Texas and Oklahoma and the plains could be getting on the act of some inclement weather. Look at this low pressure winding up over Newfoundland over here. Definitely have to keep an eye on that. But Quebec, high pressure building in for Ontario as well as we head into October 3rd and 4th. Here we go into the 5th. You can see low pressure. What's going on here is we have a big trough out west here and Western Canada and the U.S., and that's pushing these systems and ejecting them northward. That's good because we get some beneficial rains out of that into parts of central Canada. Look what's happening across Texas, though. You knew the bottom would completely drop out and you would get some big-time storms and heavy rain. That moves to the east for October 6th, potential severe weather event, and we finally start to see evidence that a system is actually going to push to the east here. Take a look at this. Towards the 6th and the 7th, we might actually get some rainfall across parts of the Ohio Valley into parts of the northeast here, so something to definitely keep an eye on as that front starts to move through later on in the evening, October 6th. And look how it pushes through. High pressure will be building in behind that, but I can assure you it's going to feel a lot more cooler, more fall-like. Look at that. That high pressure literally centered right over the central part of North America with some upper-level lows here across northeast Canada. Big-time storms, and then there's that potential for low pressure feeding moisture up here into the eastern provinces of Canada. Temperatures here, you can see where the clouds and rain are here across the northeast. Look at those lower 60s. Heat building across the center of the country as Friday and moves into Saturday here. Look at the warm wave kicking in here. Ohio Valley to the northeast, lower to mid 70s. That looks pleasant. 90s here across the midsection. You can see where that big trough is out west. As we head into the rest of your weekend Sunday, it is looking nice. Look at this. Upper 70s. Even some areas around Wilkes-Barre there, 80 degrees. That's really high for this time of year. 80s and 90s in the midsection, trough kicking. Even Florida cooling down here into the 80s. We get into Monday, October 2nd. Look what's going on here. We're getting 80. Most areas, Ohio Valley, 80s as well. And we move on into Tuesday, October 3rd. We just keep pushing this warm air. This is going to be unseasonably warm. Approaching 80 again in the Ohio Valley all the way up through the northeast and even into New England. As we head into Wednesday, those warmer temperatures just build even further. 82 in Rochester, 79 in Cleveland, all the way down into the Mississippi Valley, mid to upper 80s. Here along the coastal New England into the northeast, mid to upper 70s, looking nice. Look from hometown viewers, Binghamton to Scranton's upper Susquehanna River Valley of New York and Pennsylvania. Take a look at this. Friday, we get that chance of showers, especially east of Interstate 81. You'll have the greatest chance of showers, maybe amounting up to a tenth to a quarter of an inch. Most areas will be less. It'll be scattered about as pieces of it break off from the shield to the east. However, Friday night, continued chance of showers into Saturday. Friday's temperatures will be held down into the lower 60s. Look at Saturday, though. Mostly sunny skies, high pressure building in Saturday. Sunday, we'll be up near close to 80 degrees on Sunday into Monday. And Tuesday, we're actually pushing into the lower 80s. Enjoy. As always, thanks for joining me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. Take a look at my Facebook page at MeteoMark, also Weather Northeastern, also Hurricane Northeastern to follow the tropics. And if you want to hop over to my Twitter page, it's at Weather Eastern. It's MeteoMark.com. Thanks for joining me. Question or comment down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that bell notification button so you're alerted when a video comes out.